Stinger Core Wireless Plus 7.1 is a great choice, just under $100. Right now, we've talked about the SteelSeries Arctis 7X for the Xbox, and now we're taking a look at its PlayStation counterpart, the SteelSeries Arctis 7P. For $149.99, you're getting a retractable mic, a 40-foot wireless range, a battery life of up to 24 hours, and you get a nice, comfortable fit, no matter how big your head is. Mine is pretty damn huge, I'm not gonna lie to you. Connectivity-wise, the 7P allows you to connect to both PS4 and PS5, PC, Switch, and Android devices. Now, I've spoken at length about the quality, the sound quality, and performance of the Arctis 7P headset in our previous wireless gaming headset video, and what I said in that video still holds up today. The spatial surround sound is great, one of the best on the market at this price point. Now, the sleek and simple Arctis 7P from SteelSeries will provide you with some of the very best sound and performance you can find on the market today at under $200. Now, you really can't go wrong with these as an option. All right, switching these out now for the A50 wireless headset by Astro. Now, these come with a charging station allowing the headset to stand up on the magnetic base and will run you about $239. Now, with that price tag comes a lot of different features in the build. You got the swappable headband and ear cushions, the volume wheel, the EQ preset switch, a dedicated button for Dolby Audio, and of course, the power switch. You got to turn it on and off somehow, right? Yeah. Now, a really cool feature I like about these is on the right side where you can mix and adjust the voice and game audio just by clicking the outer ear cup. Now, the headset is made out of heavy plastic, which, I don't know, it may not scream high end to some, but you're getting a lot out of performance at this particular price point. Now, these should last you up to 15 hours. The headset works with PS4, PS5, PC, and Mac. Now, let's talk about performance. Sound quality on these are amazing, and with the Command Center software, you can customize what you're hearing and how you're hearing it, giving you optimal control over sound. The software gives you options to adjust audio high, mid, and low ranges, as well as complete control over the noise gate for the onboard mic. Now, you can even create your own EQ mode, as well as fully customizable streaming settings for the content creators out there. Now, vocal clarity on the onboard mic right here is standard. Honestly, it's nothing special, but good enough for party chat. Now, with the base station, you can sync and switch the headset over to either your PC or your PlayStation consoles. Audio quality, again, isn't stellar for this mic, but you can adjust it to your personal preference using the aforementioned software. That $239 price tag comes with a whole hell of a lot of customization, and that's exactly what you're getting with the A50s from Astro. All right, so which is right for you and your needs? Now, I personally am rocking with the first party gaming headset right here, the Sony Pulse 3D. Now, you got a hidden microphone that provides you with noise cancellation. I mean, like, look, you can't even see it. You don't know where the mic is, but it's on there, trust me. You know, you have the ability to monitor your voice in-ear as well, which is great for streamers. There's a mute button, a chat/game feature, the power switch, an audio input jack, and a USB Type-C input for charging. Now, I also just love the simplicity of the build and its matching color scheme to the PS5. You know, I just love the low profile look of these. It's just beautiful. And you know what? The $100 price tag isn't bad either. But you know what? If you don't have that much to spend and still want a decent bang for your buck, you can grab the Cloud Stinger Core Wireless Plus 7.1 from HyperX. Now, if you're willing to invest a bit more, you can check out the SteelSeries 7P or the Astro A50s. All solid options that'll satisfy your wireless audio gaming needs. Just a matter of which one you got the money for. Now let me know which one you picked up or plan on picking up. Also, what are you currently using? I saw some interesting and vintage gaming headset choices from y'all that y'all are currently still using. Good stuff. Anyway, we'll be back real soon on IGN's Budget to Best.
Kratos' journey into the mysteries of a new Norse world in 2018's God of War takes both him and players to fantastical realms, pits us against mythical beasts, and introduces an epic cast.
I thought you'd be bigger.
But at the heart of it all is Kratos' relationship to his son, Atreus. Learning what kind of father he should be in contrast to the person he was, and what kind of man he wants to raise Atreus to be, echoes in every step of his journey.
Do not be sorry. Be better.
So it's no surprise that one of Kratos' most challenging moments comes when Atreus grows sick, and the only answer to his salvation lies in Helheim, where no known fire in the Nine Realms will burn. Kratos, of course, knows of a fire from another realm he can draw from, and in one incredible sequence, we see him dig up the ghost of Sparta as he reclaims the Blades of Chaos to save his son. It is a difficult choice, to revisit the past he has clearly worked so hard to leave behind him, but at the same time, it demonstrates that Kratos will do anything to save Atreus. That harrowing moment weighs on Kratos, and the team at Sony Santa Monica lets that weight rest on the player too, before he ultimately retrieves the blades and confronts everything they represent. To find out more, IGN spoke to members of the development team about how Santa Monica brought this moment to life and how it revived the blades for Kratos' newest adventure. This is Art of the Level. Before we get to what that journey is like for Kratos, it's important to set the stage for what it was like for the developers. The blades are a surprise late into Kratos' journey, and according to art director Raf Grassetti, in the early days of the project, much of the team worked without even focusing on the blades or thinking they may even be part of the project. That allowed the devs at large to really focus on ensuring Kratos' new weapon, the now iconic Leviathan axe, got its due. But when work did begin on concepting the blades, the art team wanted to ensure they were retaining what fans loved about them, but also bringing them up to snuff with the rest of the work already done.
Sweet Nana's nethers. What are those?
Part of that work, at its purest, meant meeting the more realistic look of this new adventure.
Kratos spent all that time trying to get rid of it, so we wanted to show that in the blades. But keeping it as iconic as we all know the blades, to be. So initially that was an easier task, right? Like just to take what was there and really just make it a little more realistic, work with the materials. It was a transition, for the franchise to be a little more realistic. So we had to play a little bit with proportions, but keeping it as close as the old ones. And we took a step back and broke down what was iconic about it as we were, Norsifying it, as we would say it, to really find what was iconic.
Not wanting to mess with what wasn't broken, the art team did their best to enhance the look but retain the essence of the blades. Some of the changes they did make were aided by the work done on the Leviathan axe, as well as knowing how gameplay elements like upgrades and runes would affect weaponry.
It is very recognizable. It's probably the most recognizable piece that we have. The mythologies, so we needed to keep that, but then also finding thematically what would make sense. For the blades, we started to explore a lot of the Jormungandr, the world snake, to come into the designs as we upgraded, because we knew that was an iconic element that we could use. As you upgrade the head of the blade, you see the snake come through, forming the Omega at the end, and that was kind of, the final touch where we knew we had something, and we knew it felt like, it was a proper way to take it into the Norse mythology and keeping it iconic.
Maintaining the original appeal of the blades didn't just apply to the look of them, it also mattered to the mechanical feel of them as well.
So initially we did try quite a bit to make it feel very different. And I think when we saw internally the reaction celebrate the familiarity, I think we were much more accepting of, let's revisit this.
Very important to make sure that we got the timing and the feeling and the similar frames, we're down to the frames, right? Because people will recognize the square, triangle combo, using the shoulder buttons. We want to ensure that those things felt timing-wise the same. So that was the first thing that we set out to do.
We had more confidence that when we realized we were going to retread familiarity with the blades, we didn't see that as like a failure. We were like, it's good. Let's celebrate this kind of side of Kratos and this different style of game. And it helps pacing and variety, right? Like switching between the axe and the blades. In 2018, there's not a lot of mechanics in that game that really force you to switch weapons.
One of the biggest changes the team had to account for in bringing forward the blades was one of God of War 2018's major differences, a lower behind-the-back camera angle.
Bringing a closer, third-person perspective camera that's player-controlled really changed everything from the ground up. And the axe is just like the blades was for the old camera, the axe is our take on a weapon ideal for the new camera, right? And so all the decisions really are being made from the axe. Like early on in the game, we knew that we wanted to make an axe pretty early. We knew that we wanted to introduce throwing because we want to take advantage of the camera perspective. But we also had the blades in the background, right? And we're like, well, the axe is the main thing to design the game around, but we're going to have to figure out how to get these blades in this game. There was a whole period where we were thinking that modernizing the blades meant actually not having them get thrown out with the chains, but actually having them only be in hand, like knives, essentially. We thought that would be a twist. It would kind of work with the camera. It would be much more similar to the axe in terms of, the range that you would be able to attack with, a little bit closer, of course. And we had tried all of this work with it, and it just didn't get the appeal. It just didn't really land.
When the team returned to the blades and their attached chains, the internal reaction made it clear this was the way to go. And the road toward making the blades feel familiar mechanically went on. Going back to the issues of the camera shift, that sense of familiarity had to also apply to the way Kratos was animated while swinging those blades around.
Now the perspective was going to be from behind Kratos. You were not going to see them from every angle how you saw the blades before. So it was very important for us to ensure that from that new perspective, they felt and read the same way with the same type of silhouette and posing that we established in the first few games, to make sure that on the 2018 version of the game, that playability felt very similar, if not the same. Also, another big challenge was we couldn't have the length of the chains be the same as the previous original Greek games, because if we were to extend the chains to the same length that we had before, they would go well beyond the range of the new camera perspective. So we had to reel them in a little bit, but at the same time ensure that they didn't feel a little bit too nerved, like they were, almost like he wasn't releasing them as far as he used to before.
The chains even need to be considered from early art concepting phases, in a way players might not automatically assume.
So previously we had keyframed all the motion of the chains, and every move that Kratos would use the blades, it would just be very custom made. Every single chain was like hand animated, but this time around we wanted to introduce a little bit of a blend. So while a lot of them are very custom made as far as how the chains move and bend, we did have to employ a lot of physics and reach a nice sort of middle ground between using the physics engine and blending in and out of keyframe animation. We do have some moments in which you actually get to see the slack of the chains coming from Kratos' wrists and going back into the blades. And that is like physics driven, as Kratos runs on the screen, you see them kind of, moving around on their own and reacting to what the player's inputs are, versus us trying to keyframe all that. That would just not be possible.
The physicality of the chains was explored on the gameplay and engineering side, and for a time, the team tried some experimental ideas with how the blades and their chains might work.
Initially, there was a lot of excitement behind the chain sim. Simulation in general is something that always gathers a lot of excitement because it looks really cool, and whether it works for gameplay or not, that's what we have to decide. But at that time, there was definitely some ideas that we were looking at with leaving the blade out there, throwing it and leaving it out, and actually walking around and having the chain, like, could you clothesline an enemy? Could you, just, again, ways of leaning into the physical side of the blades.
While there were cool ideas in play, the team ultimately decided to focus on what the blades were known for, rather than trying to reinvent the knife.
There was a lot of experimentation with that kind of enemy manipulation gameplay. Honestly, there wasn't a lot of success that we found in doing that because so much of the game, as I mentioned before, is relying on camera and facing. We kind of decided that, if we're going to put our effort into anything, given the time and resources we have, let's try to deliver the familiarity of the blades that people remember more than anything else.
But playing to that familiarity wasn't a burden. It was core to unlocking the blade's potential and retaining the balletic feel of them, even with a different camera angle amongst other changes.
It's always very important for us to in every move, make it feel like Kratos is guiding the blades, and he's like pulling and manipulating the blades, and never allow the blades for them to almost spin on their own. Like he's always in control of them, and he can at any point kind of pull them back and or redirect them in any way that he wishes.
There's a lot that's actually different than the old games, but I think the perception a lot of people have is it's exactly like the old games. The old combos still work, and that's intentional, right? Like we want you to feel what Kratos is feeling.
Representing the past but bringing it into the now, the Blades not only reflected the series' history, but showcased all the incredible work that had been done to modernize the franchise but still honor its history. The Blades' specific place in the journey allows the story to do just the same. Kratos' journey home begins with a solemn river ride set against a red storm. And while it takes control away from the player for several minutes in a game that excels at combat and exploration, it's because you're forced to sit in that boat with Kratos as he reflects on his emotions for so long that what comes after resonates so strongly.
That sequence underwent a lot of careful planning, but also a lot of iteration. We wanted to make sure we reach a good balance of the build-up, right? We wanted to make sure that there was the anticipation and the build-up to the big reveal, but at the same time, make sure that it wasn't, it wasn't too much.
That planning went into the practical filming of the scene as well, both from those performing the camera work and from Kratos' actor Christopher Judge.
And I do remember the day that we shot that on stage with Chris. He did an amazing job because, Corey just talked to him and had a conversation about what it means for Kratos to essentially dig up his past and go retrieve these blades that mean so much to him. He really did a great job of communicating it through without any dialogue, really, like what Kratos was going through.
I got to give a lot of credit to Corey on this one, obviously, to have the kind of confidence to let it sit in that. We filmed the circles around it deliberately, slowly, to, just let him stew until, the Athena moment where it pops up. I think the tough thing was not rushing it from either the person holding the camera and walking around him and not feeling the need to rush it, and just, getting the buy-in from people who want to get back on the buttons.
The length of that boat ride also serves a somewhat meta function for the player as well. Those who know Kratos' history and backstory probably have a pretty good idea of what iconic weapon will do the trick. But even if players don't know, the solemnity of this long river ride solidifies the importance of what's to come.
Having that boat ride was a way to show those players who, seeing the blades, they may recognize it because they're kind of iconic to Kratos. If they knew anything about Kratos or PlayStation in general, they could recognize it, but having to watch Kratos go through that boat ride and all that leading up to it shows that even if it doesn't have that same hook to them because they didn't play the old games with the blades, they could see that it was really powerful to Kratos. So that was kind of our window in to also help, players who haven't played the original games.
Everything from Kratos' contemplative state to the chaotic nature around him beautifully illustrates and underscores how important the moment that's coming is for him. That attention to detail can be seen even in small character decisions, like a choice Kratos makes at the onset of the boat ride.
For that sequence on the boat, we deliberately, every time Kratos gets into the boat, he pulls Mimir off his hip and sets him on the bench across, usually sitting next to Atreus. But, we very deliberately left him on Kratos' hip. Not only because, we might have issues of Athena clipping into him sitting there or whatever, but this isn't a moment for Mimir. This is a moment specifically for Kratos. And Mimir knows that Kratos is really going through stuff. As soon as he leaves Freya's house, he says something and Kratos says, leave me be. Mimir leaves him be.
But Kratos isn't alone for the entire ride. At one point, the visage of the Greek goddess Athena appears.
Athena.
And given Kratos' fraught but important history with her, the devs knew she had to be the figure from his past to haunt him in this moment.
Get out of my head.
Of all the gods, Athena was the one that Kratos trusted the most. And then he ultimately felt manipulated by her by the end of God of War 3.
Look around you, Athena. The world stands in ruin. What good is your message?
So we always knew it was going to be Athena. And the fact that we could get Carol, who played Athena in God of War 2, to come back and play the role, and she was so great. And just hearing her voice brought it all, to life.
There's nowhere you can hide, Spartan.
And it wasn't just the voice the developers wanted to bring forth from the past. Her look is specifically meant to be as close as possible to her previous appearance.
So we wanted to be exactly what his last memory was of her. So we actually took the character from the past games and we did a little bit to, improve on the details and the sculpt and all that, but the model is one-to-one to what it used to be, really to sell that it is Athena, it is what we all remember her to look like.
Pretend to be everything you are not. Teacher, husband, father.
The specter of Athena follows Kratos back to his home, where he eventually retrieves the hidden blades of chaos from underneath the floorboards. The moment remains a weighty, solitary sequence for both Kratos and the player, but Athena looms in the background, taunting Kratos that he can never really outrun the monster he once was. But, as Kratos makes clear in one of God of War's most famous lines, he's not running from who he is, but he's choosing to be the monster he is for the right reasons.
You will always be a monster.
I know. But I am your monster no longer.
Being able to drop that line of "I'm your monster no longer," that moment, that was when we really felt like we had the scene, was that line, because Kratos has gone through a lot, right? And what he's showing in this moment is he's willing to go through it again, but he's going to try to do it for the right reasons. That was our moment for Kratos to both embrace what his past was and what he had to do, but do it in a better way, right? He's not doing it for Athena. He's not doing it for revenge. He's doing it because he has to save his son. Having that line land for us that way, and then walking through Athena to show that he's not swinging the blades at this apparition thing that's in his face or anything like that. He's done with that. He's the freight train moving forward.
The one thing that's very specific too that not a lot of people seem to talk about is when you walk through Athena and you see her dissipate into like the green particles. Same thing that we saw in past games when she died. Like all those little connections that Corey more than everyone else has a very specific taste and know the reasoning behind everything. Like it comes together, right? Like it all feels like it really pays homage and puts you into this new setting and it gives you all the tools for you to enjoy it and celebrate the past.
Kratos isn't ignoring his past in this moment. He's very much, as Santa Monica masterfully communicates via the scene, accepting it in a way he clearly hadn't yet in his Norse life. And in doing so, he's choosing how he wields that past. It may still be through the blades, but they are being used now to save the life that matters to him most. And that means for Kratos, the player, and the developers, it's time to make the blades an essential part of the rest of his journey. All of the work that went into making the blades fun to wield comes to a head in these moments after Kratos steps out of his home against a pack of relatively easy enemies.
All right, brother, let's see what those blades can do.
One thing we wanted to make sure that landed was when you get the blades and you walk out, it's about Kratos. It's not about the enemies at that point. A lot of times when we design encounters, we focus on what we call the combat puzzle, where enemies are essentially posing questions that the player has to answer based on their placement or the enemy composition. In your head, you kind of create a little strategy for yourself. How am I going to get through this? When you get the blades, that's not really the point. The point is this has to be a pacing hit with all of this buildup where the feeling should be the blades are back and they're awesome.
Up to this point, these enemies have been a little bit tougher, even with the axe. But once you get the blades, you sort of slice through them like butter. And that was also very carefully planned, that we made sure we put the right enemies there for you to just immediately feel powerful, like the old Kratos is back.
They're frost enemies too, and so what better way to celebrate the blades than to let the player tear through them with fire? But there's actually a secret joy that many players have experienced after this initial fight, and it's one the developers anticipated and hoped for.
The real moment of joy and kind of disbelief happens at the end of that fight, where there's a little pop-up that comes and it says, upgrade your blades in the skill tree. And you're like, wait, what? Because, people just think that, it's a set piece, it's not real. Then you go and you open the menu and then you see a skill tree.
It may seem funny that a skill tree could cause so much delight, but it really does, because it makes clear the blades are going to be a permanent part of the experience. Though it's late in 2018's story, you're going to have the chance to upgrade and unlock new skills for these beloved weapons.
I know from quality. And them special.
But because of that late arrival, the developers didn't want to stop players from having fun with the blades immediately.
Because we could have done something where really at the end you unlock the blades as you know them, right? And could have taken a more conservative approach. But again, the value of that moment of just the blades are back is just so powerful that we did decide for the blades to really put a lot of these big kind of fundamental blades-like moves front and center.
But as players come to understand that the blades are a fundamental part of the journey, the team wanted to ensure players didn't feel like this special moment would be spoiled.
He's not going to put them back under the floorboards. We're not going to give players the blades and then take them away.
The blades remain throughout Kratos' journey and stand at the nexus of God of War's unique place in the overall franchise. Kratos has forged ahead to a new life, a new gameplay style, and a new world. But the past can never truly be forgotten. And Santa Monica quite explicitly doesn't want to ignore or forget the past. It interrogates it head-on as both part of Kratos' story, reckoning his past with his present, and as a mechanical representation of both where the series has been and how far along it's come. Thank you so much for watching our latest Art of the Level. For more, be sure to check out our Art of the Level focused on Ghost of Tsushima's opening title card, as well as The Last of Us Part 2's Rat King boss fight. And be sure to let us know what game you'd like to see us dive deep into next.
What's up, everyone? I'm Akeem. Now, if you're one of the lucky few that managed to purchase a PS5, aside from considering yourself lucky, you might want to consider a few useful accessories to add that'll enhance your overall gaming experience. Today, we'll be taking a look at 5 PlayStation 5 accessories that you might want to put on your list. The DualSense charging station, the CMP shells for PS5, the Astro A50 Wireless Plus base station, the custom Hex Gaming Rival controller, and the Western Digital Black SN850 SSD with heatsink. We'll break them all down for you in our latest episode of Budget to Best. The DualSense charging station perfectly complements the base PlayStation 5 design with its black and white accents, and at $29.99, it's a great way to free up the clutter of excessive wiring and keep those controllers fully charged. Now, with the DualSense charging station, you can charge up to 2 controllers, and the click-in design makes it easy to know when your controllers are charging. Now, the charging station comes with an AC adapter and an AC power cord. Now, I know sometimes I forget to plug in my controllers into like a wall outlet to charge them while not in use, so the DualSense charging station makes it easy to remember to do so. Now, as the station can rest conveniently next to your console, where you can click them in and make sure you're always 100% ready to go next gameplay. All of the official PlayStation 5 accessories are worth looking at, with the DualSense charging station being one of the most useful to most gamers out there. Just because, it's nice to kind of change things up once in a while, we thought we'd include the CMP shell casing for the PlayStation 5. For $44.99 to $59.99, you can customize your PS5's appearance and give your gaming console a little more personality. From X-ray smoked out to all black, you're able to make your PS5 look as unique as possible. Now, it's a nice little touch that'll make your console stand out, and it's so easy to install and remove in case, you find yourself wanting to frequently switch them out occasionally. Now, there's a handful of companies out there that do custom plates for the PS5, and CMP is well on up there in both affordability and variety. Now, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, when I'm gaming on my PS5, I love these right here. I love using these. We're taking a look at the A50 wireless headset from Astro. Now, we talked about these in our PS5 headset video a while back, so be sure to check out that video if you want more details on vocal clarity, sound quality, and general performance on these. At $299, you get this sleek headset with a charging base station to make sure you never run out of juice when you need it. Now, while that price tag, I know it might be a bit steep for some, it definitely comes with all the bells and whistles. You got the swappable headband and ear cushions, the volume wheel, the EQ preset switch, a dedicated button for Dolby Audio, and of course, the power switch. Now, you can even mix and adjust the voice and game audio by clicking the outer ear cup on the right side. Now, the A50 wireless headset will last you up to 15 hours on a single charge, and it's also compatible with PS4, PC, Mac, along with PlayStation 5. Now, Xbox owners might be familiar with their Design Lab and the Elite controller, right? Well, there's nothing similar officially on the PlayStation side of things. That's where third-party companies like Hex Gaming step in to fill that void with their rival controller. Now, the Hex Gaming rival controller manages to take the already established design of the DualSense to the next level by taking an actual DualSense controller and tricking it out with customizations. Like, they literally pimped this bad boy out, coming in at around $199.99 to $275.99, depending on your customization choices. Not only can you customize the look with numerous skins to choose from or your very own design, but the feel and overall behavior of the controller is at your disposal. Now, you have quite a few thumbsticks to choose from, and the most valuable feature that really steps things up: the customizable rear buttons. Yeah, now you can reassign any other standard control to give you that additional edge while gaming. Now, it's definitely a premium accessory, but well worth the money for those advanced and adept gamers. I know this next one is going to make a lot of y'all excited. The PS5 finally added expandable storage, which is great news and means those larger game installs will benefit from this particular option. Now, the very best SSD for gaming on the market right now is hands down the Western Digital Black SN850 SSD. Now, the pricing may vary depending on which one you opt in for. Now, they come in either a 500 gigabyte option or a 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte option, with the latter two also having a heatsink or no heatsink selection for you to choose from. Now, the prices will be displayed on the screen for each. Now, no matter which one you manage to get your hands on, you can expect the drive to perform at a very, very speedy pace. Now, it can hit a sequential read speed of 7,000 megabytes per second, due in part to the bandwidth granted by its PCIe 4.0 X4 connections. Now, the one we received came with all the tools you need to properly install the internal SSD, making it a very, very easy and simple process. It also includes its own heatsink so that you're able to maintain maximum performance. And there you have it, the DualSense charging station, the CMP shells for PS5, the Astro A50 Wireless Plus base station, the custom Hex Gaming rival controller, and the Western Digital Black SN850 SSD with heatsink. Great items to put on your wish list if you're on the market shopping for some new PS5 accessories. Hopefully this list was helpful to you, and definitely comment below which of these items you already own or plan on getting. Now's definitely the time if you own a PS5. I'm Akeem Lawanson, and thanks for watching IGN's Budget to Best.
PlayStation.
Hi there everybody, Destin Laguerre here, and today I'm going to show you how to install a new hard drive in your PlayStation 5. It's really easy. You're going to need a few things. You're going to need a screwdriver, and you're probably going to need a light on your phone. Now the hardest part about the whole hard drive upgrading process is purchasing the correct drive. We left a few in the comments below or in the description, and the one I went with was actually one that was recommended by Mark Cerny. It has the heatsink built in, it's properly sized, it's the WD Black 1TB Gen 4 hard drive. It has read-write speeds up to 7,000 megabytes per second. This is a great drive if you're looking to upgrade your PlayStation 5. And there's some really great deals out there. This one is comparable in price to the hard drive that you would get for an Xbox Series X at 1 terabyte, but you can get much better deals online. So let's crack open the PS5 and install this.
A quick note, at the time of recording, this is only available to those in the beta. If you're not in the beta and install a drive, your PS5 will yell at you.
So first things first, you're going to need to remove your bottom plate, so just take out the included screw, and we're going to set that aside for now. Now probably the hardest part of the whole thing is going to be popping off this plate on the back of your PlayStation 5. For real. Basically all you want to do is you want to put some pressure on the bottom and pressure on the top, and sort of, there you go. It's a little loud, it's a little scary, but as you can see, the plate is totally fine. And right there, that is the hard drive that we're going to be swapping out. So we'll just set aside the plate, and let's open that up with our screwdriver. Now, they say you need a flashlight, but I'm not really sure why you would need a flashlight. Just have it just in case. You could use a desk lamp or anything really. So once you've gotten your plate off for the hard drive, you're almost done. Open up the hard drive that you've gotten and put it in. So we've taken the hard drive out of its packaging, and now all you want to do is line it up, and then you'll also want to undo the included screw inside of your PlayStation 5, line up the washer, and then screw it securely in place. Replace the cover, and pop back on your faceplate. Hard drive upgraded, that's it. Now, let's say that you have a hard drive that doesn't have an included heatsink. I'm going to show you how that's done with this old M2 drive that I had laying around and a heatsink that I bought. Now, most of the heatsinks on Amazon or wherever you're going to purchase them are labeling that they are compatible with a PlayStation 5, but you can find a full list of specifications on the PlayStation website or in the description. Never put on your own heatsink? Well, they even come with instructions. So basically the order is your bottom, silicone thermal pad, your M2 drive, silicone thermal pad, and then the cover. And then you just screw it together and put it in the PlayStation 5 like I showed you before. Make sure you line up the screw hole on your drive with the appropriate screw hole on the cover. So then you screw it into place, and now you just install it in your PlayStation 5. There we go. Be sure to check the description for a link to various hard drives so you can pick the one that works for you. And yes, I know some of you eagle eyes out there probably noticed that was a 960 EVO. You would want to get the 980 M2 drive. Okay, so now that we have the hard drive installed, let's see what that looks like on the PlayStation 5 menu.
Right now, if you're in the beta, be sure you've downloaded and installed the beta system software before adding your new M2 SSD to your PS5. If you're watching this once the system software is available to everyone, be sure you have the latest PS5 software installed and you should be good to go. So once you boot up for the first time, the first thing you'll need to do is format the drive when prompted to, so go ahead and do that right off the bat. We found that when transferring a 55GB game like Returnal to the new drive, it took 43 seconds. It was very, very fast. But when transferring it back to the built-in PS5 drive, it took 4 times as long. However, the loading times are identical for both drives, which is amazing.
That's it. Look, if I can figure out how to do it, I'm sure you can. Open your PS5, pop in that new M2 drive that you like, and get to gaming. Thanks for watching, everybody. For more on all things gaming, keep it right here at IGN.
Now, if you're looking for expansive storage for the PS5, you're going to want to install an additional SSD. And not just any SSD will do, though, since the PS5 has some pretty hefty requirements for what drives will work when expanding your storage. First, it has to be a PCIe Gen 4 M.2 NVMe SSD with a sequential read speed of at least 5,500 megabytes per second. Now, secondly, it has to have a heatsink in order to keep it from overheating. Now, we've talked before about the Western Digital Black SN850, which has for a while been our top choice for adding some extra storage to your system. But today we're talking about the Corsair MP600 Pro LPX, a new challenger to that crown, and quite possibly the best SSD you can buy for the PS5. In today's video, we'll be discussing the benefits of the Corsair MP600 Pro LPX, benchmark a few games to fully test out its capabilities, compare it to the WD Black and the stock PS5. Now let's load up and get started. Now the Corsair comes in a few storage options. The one I have right here is 1 terabyte, but you can pick up one that has 500 gigabytes, 2 terabytes, or 4 terabytes with pricing varying on each. Now those are massive and you'll find it well worth it for those larger game files. Now the Corsair can reach speeds up to 7,100 megabytes a second sequential read, 5,800 megabytes a second sequential write with PCIe Gen 4 technology. Now this is great for those larger game files, as I stated, and surpasses the PS5 speed requirements. The actual SSD has a pre-installed aluminum heat spreader, which is important since, as we mentioned, a heatsink is required for any SSD you install in the PS5's M.2 slot. Now for the most important part of the video, benchmarking a few games to see how the Corsair stacks up. Now we'll be putting the Corsair MP600 up against the stock PS5 SSD and the WD Black SN850. Now we'll have the comparisons for each up on the screen for you to see how it all breaks down so you can compare for yourself. Now as you can see here, the Corsair MP600 is able to match the Western Digital SN850 and the stock PS5, meaning both SSDs would be a solid choice for expanding your storage while maintaining the PS5's impressively quick loading times. Now, the MP600 loaded first while fast traveling in Miles Morales, as you can see here. To be quite honest, the load-in isn't that noticeable across the board, only very slightly when comparing. With everything we just showed you for the Corsair MP600 Pro LPX, we'd love to know your thoughts. Now, the Corsair is 7,100 megabytes a second, 5,800 megabytes a second read-write speed versus the WD's 7,000, 5,300 read-write speed. So while the boxes and each SSD's respective websites, have these numbers to show you, there's really not a noticeable difference between the read-write speeds while booting up and actually playing games. Now that means it all comes down to price, and at $154.99, the 1 terabyte Corsair is a little bit cheaper than the 1 terabyte SN850 with heatsink. Now, in other words, a cheaper price tag for equal if not slightly better performance, which is why the Corsair MP600 Pro LPX is IGN's recommended PS5 SSD. Regardless of which one you go for, you're getting larger storage space for your continually growing library of games, and that's always a benefit to the PS5's limited storage space without. Now, if you've upgraded your PS5 to this or another SSD, please tell us about your experience. And for more on tech, please check out our PS5 accessories video. And for everything else, keep watching IGN.
Just so it's out there, I can't swim.
Look, it looks like it's shallow on the right side. Follow me.
I'm glad Marlene hired you guys.
What do you mean?
I know you guys are getting paid for this, but I'm trying to save this.
Yeah, sure thing. No. No, no, no.
What happens now?
What are you doing, Tess? 俺たちはこの世に存在するべきではない。愚かだな、風間陣。ファイト。
It's official, Tekken 8 is coming to the PlayStation 5 console courtesy of our battle-hardened friends at Bandai Namco Entertainment. Now, let's check in on 2 games in development for PlayStation VR2.
The story I was telling, it was about a certain droid repair tech who had no business getting into this kind of trouble. But there they were, standing against evil wherever it popped up.
I think there are a few new items on the shelves that might catch your eye.
The locals can be a little rough on tourists, but it's nothing you can't handle.
The first order on Batu. Surely we can count on you now.
Oh, hello, my friend.
Ready for battle. Let all monsters beware. My aim is true. Taste my steel.
I call lightning! Kogdur of Kalervortson!
Bullseye. Go back to the abyss!
Let them deal with that!
You will be destroyed!
I summon fire!
Demio brings the creativity and chaos of a tabletop RPG to PS VR2. This next game is being rebuilt from the ground up and will be available outside of Japan for the first time.
不思議な話もあったもんやな。時代を動かすはずの男が時代遅れの男に切られ死ぬ。しかもこの世に存在しないはずのもう一人の自分に切られることになるんやからな。 なあ、坂本龍馬さんよ。
Hello, Madam Mason? I understand you have a shop to sell.
I think you will find my terms quite generous.
What's the catch?
You are wise to be wary.
Why is your mistress selling the shop?
She has had rotten bad luck with the last few tenants.
Those who came before you just could not seem to escape the darkness. Will you? Watch your step.
Warning, an instability front is approaching. Take immediate shelter in a stabilized area. Locations impacted include sectors Delta and Echo.
Another one? After all these years? Call her. Now.
Survive a ride from hell in Pacific Drive, the debut game from Ironwood Studio. Up next, let's check in on PlayStation Stars, a loyalty program rolling out soon.
Hi everyone, I'm Grace Chen. Not long ago, we announced our brand new loyalty program called PlayStation Stars. It's designed to celebrate you, the players. It will be free to join PlayStation Stars. As a member, you can complete various activities to earn points that can be redeemed for rewards. Digital collectibles are a highlight of the program. These are digital representations of things that PlayStation fans love. Today, I'm pleased to give you a sneak peek at some examples of our digital collectibles. Whether it's a beloved game character or a cherished device from Sony's innovative history, there will always be something new to collect and show off to your friends. And I have more good news. PlayStation Stars will begin to roll out in some regions in Asia starting in late September. It will launch in the Americas and Europe in the weeks that follow. That's it for now. Check PlayStation blog to learn more about PlayStation Stars.
着地成功。ジェネレーター出力異常なし。基礎巡航プログラム異常なし。おはようございます。今日もしっかりと稼ぎましょう。AO 採掘ポイント近いです。これはレアサイズのものです。高熱源体接近。データベースにない新種のエンダーズと思われます。所属不明機よりロックオン。緊急迎撃システム起動。標的ではありますが我々の本気を見せてあげま。高エネルギー反応。対象から攻撃来ます。お、やりすぎちゃいました。おはようございます。さあ
こんな刺激的な朝は初めてだ。
These next two intense action games are PS5 console exclusives. Let's take a look.
그날은 갑자기 찾아왔지. 그놈들은 무자비했고 인간들은 무력했어. 인류는 형편없이 무너져갔네.
자이오니아, 버려진 자들의 도시지. 전성기에는 10만 명 이상이 살았던 곳이야.
와, 황무지 아래 건설한 도시라니. 여긴 무덤인 건가요?
아니, 이곳의 주민들은 에너지 고갈로 잠들어 있는 거야. 이대로 간다면 영원한 어둠뿐이지. 이봐, 우리를 도와줘.
조심해! 리스팅되지 않는 레이스구야. 아담, 뒤로 물러나! 절대적이야.
이 레거시는 믿을 수 없어요. 그렇죠? 그렇다고 말해줘요.
여기 있는 누구도 그 손길이 닿은 적은 없어. 모두 버려진 거야.
그건 신상 모독이에요.
릴리, 부탁해. 난 이러기 위해 태어난 거야.
이렇게 된 이상 나도 몰라요.
콜롬니의 천사여, 이번에는 우리를 구원할 수 있겠는가?
After 3 centuries of the Tokugawa's repressive rule, the Black Ships appeared without warning, and our nation began to tear itself apart. Those who cleave to the past, those who embrace the new, and the Ronin, a warrior free of all masters and bonds. I will watch over you all as your blades carve a new future. Your time has come. Rise as one.
Experience an era of great change and upheaval in Rise of the Ronin, a sprawling action RPG from Team Ninja. Before we wrap up, we've got one more update for you.
Everyone keeps secrets. Sometimes it's the only way to protect the ones we love.
I know you. God Killer. What is it you want from me? Is it a god of war you came to find?
You don't really want war, do you, Kratos? All that blood on your hands, on your son's hands.
What is it you will not tell me?
I can't talk about it, but I just need you to trust me.
We follow your every whim.
But you don't believe in any of it.
And still I follow. Because all that matters is that you are safe.
But that's not all that matters. Who's keeping you safe?
I do not need you to protect me.
You sure about that?
Pretender God! For the old father!
Death can have me when it earns me.
What do you even know of God's word? In your lifetimes, has anyone ever worshipped you? Ever prayed to you? Can you even imagine that kind of love? No! You don't care about anything beyond yourself. Beyond the monster who kills without cause.
Fate only binds you if you let it. Do what is necessary.
And that's the show. God of War Ragnarok comes to PS5 and PS4 on November 9th. See you next time!
PlayStation